The Magic better be ready for a life without Paolo Banchero. He's going to miss some time. So what are the Magic doing differently now to be ready for this moment? Today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is November 13th. Happy birthday to my sister. It will be November 14th, 2025. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com, credentialed member of the Orlando Magic media since the 2012 season. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, we find out that Paolo Banchero indeed has a strained groin, will miss at least Friday's game, preparing for him to be out for at least a week, maybe a little bit longer. No timeline on that. We'll get to that, plus how the Magic survive without Paolo Banchero. But then we're going to dig a little bit deeper into the Magic playbook. We're going to talk with Ryan Kaminski of Magic on SI and Beyond the Arcade about what the Magic are doing differently and how they found success at this juncture of the season. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. First, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. You can make Locked On Magic an even bigger part of your day by being one of our Orlando Magic dailies. That means that you listen every day. That means we're part of your regular podcast rotation. That means we are your first listen of the day. That means we are thanking you, of course, for making Locked On NBA, not Locked On Magic, making the Locked On Podcast Network the number one sports podcast network out there. Truly appreciate all the listens, all the support, and everything you do. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. Now, I do want to get to the conversation that I had with Ryan Kaminski of Magic on SI as well as Beyond the Arcade, because we do a little some nerdy stuff. We get into what the Magic are doing and how the Magic have already evolved through these first 12 games. So hopefully those insights are good. But we do have to start with breaking news that actually broke while we were recording. So you will hear us react to the news as it happens or as it broke, or roughly shortly after it broke. We do have to, you hear me react to it then, but we'll react to it now. The Orlando Magic reported that Paolo Banchero had an MRI on his strained right groin, and the good news is it's just a strain, no tear, nothing crazy, nothing major. Sustained the injury in the first half of Wednesday's game is just a left groin strain. The Magic say he will be out against Brooklyn on Friday. No surprise there. He will continue to be evaluated, and his return will depend on how he responds to treatment. So, open-ended on the return. Again, I would definitely think he will miss a couple games. I don't see him playing Sunday against Houston. I don't want to speculate too far out beyond that, but a week seems like a fair game to say, okay, probably won't play against Golden State, probably won't play against the Clippers. Maybe next Saturday against the Knicks. Hopefully by the time the Magic go on the road, whether at Boston, probably not at Boston, but hopefully at Philadelphia, at Detroit for the 2 NBA Cup games, we'll find out. Speedy recovery for Paolo. It did not seem like it was that bad. Again, Fred Katz of The Athletic reported after the game on Wednesday that Paolo tried to do movement to loosen it up and try and get back in there. He was told by the Magic's trainers that, if it were torn, you wouldn't be able to do any of this. So that's good, but he just couldn't get comfortable, couldn't get back on the court. At this juncture, take your time. Again, we're in the marathon, not the sprint. Magic are in a good place right now. Ball's moving. Defense is playing well. Obviously, the Magic played well without him on Wednesday. They played well with him on Wednesday. They need him. Don't get that wrong. But take your time, get healthy, get back into the groove of things. So, good news on that front, that it's just a strain. If it was bad enough for him to pull himself from the game, this is about as good as you can get. You don't want this injury to linger. This is something that if you come back too soon can get worse, can just hamper you throughout the season. I'd rather him take his time right now and get all the way healthy, because as we saw last year, the Magic can hold their own. The Magic can keep the boat steady without him. Now, this is a different team than last year in several respects, but this can ultimately be a good thing. And we talk a little bit about this on the conversation, so I don't want to touch too deeply into this here, but this can ultimately be a good thing because it'll get a Franz Wagner on the ball a little bit more and get Desmond Bane on the ball a little bit more. So all those people complaining that Desmond Bane's not getting enough shots, this is a great way for him to get in rhythm. He's going to be the number 2 option. He's going to be on the ball a lot more. The Magic will put him on the ball a lot more anyway, and they're going to need to get the most out of him. But obviously the spotlight now is on Franz. And we saw what this did for him last year. Now, Franz is playing really well as it is and scoring really, really well. This season, averaging 22.5 points per game, 6.4 rebounds per game, shooting 47.4% from the floor, 35.8% from 3. He is playing very, very well. But as a lot of people complain, kind of being frozen out of the offense a little bit. I wouldn't say frozen out of the offense, but it's been difficult for him to get his touches. And some of that is like Franz, I think, naturally prefers to be the second guy, and that's okay. But that can't happen now. Now Franz has to be the guy. And so we go back to the 20 games that he played last year. The 20 games that he played. When Paolo Banchero was out before his own oblique injury last year, where Franz averaged 26.1 points per game, averaged 6 rebounds per game, 6.3 assists per game, shot 45.7% from the floor, shot 30.5% from 3, which was good for him, on 6.6 3-point attempts per game, shot 87.7% from the foul line on 6.1 attempts per game, led the Magic to a 13-7 record, keeping their season alive, led them to win 12 of 13 games. And remember, 5 of those losses, those 13-7, 5 of those 7 losses came in the first 5 games without Paolo Banchero, because the Magic went on a 5-game losing streak right out of the gate. They went on a 5-game road trip at Chicago. Paolo got hurt, so 4 of them, not 5 of them, 4 of those 7 came during that first road trip. It was like at Dallas, they got smoked. At Indiana, they started figuring themselves out. And then at Cleveland, they lost. I'm missing a game somewhere there, but it's not important. We know Franz is going to step up. We know he's going to pay attention, but like what feels different now is like, yes, he still has Jalen Suggs, who he had last year, but this is where Desmond Bane is so much more valuable. This is where Desmond Bane is super, super valuable. Because Desmond Bane can also pick up the slack. Franz doesn't have to have this crazy usage like he did last year. Desmond Bane will also be on the ball like he was last year when John Morant got hurt. He can also play, make, and distribute. He can also be an outlet as a 3-point shooter. Will the Magic run Franz Des pick and rolls, which they haven't really done, like they were running Paolo Des pick and rolls? We'll find out. But this is obviously something the Magic are familiar with doing. This is something obviously the Magic have had success doing. And this is going to, I mean, obviously it's not ideal. I think the Magic need Paolo. Just watch the 4th quarter of that game on Wednesday when the Magic's offense looked creaky at times. But Orlando knows they have players who could step up. I say this every year, and I feel like I have to repeat this. You're going to need everybody on your roster at some point. You're not going to get through a season where everybody plays 82 games. That doesn't happen. That's impossible. And so the Magic are going to get their guys in. And they had to be prepared for this to happen. Well, last year, they saw exactly what they need to do. There should be confidence. They shouldn't blink at this. Because now they have Desmond Bane, who gives them an extra boost. But they know that Franz is capable of carrying the load for however long he has to carry the load, whether it's 5 games, 6 games, 7 games, 10 games, 20 games, whatever it is. They know he's capable. And they're going to lean on him even more. But the good news is he doesn't have to carry that whole burden by himself. Like I said, we're going to get into this a little bit in the conversation I have with Ryan Kaminski. I want to get right to that. We'll talk with Ryan about Magic strategy and all that jazz. Not the jazz, but that jazz. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Drip Drop. When I'm hydrated, Everything just works better. My focus, energy, mood, even my skin. That's why I've been using Drip Drop. It's doctor-developed hydration that keeps me running at full power no matter what my day looks like. Drip Drop is not your average sports drink. It delivers 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of leading brands using a science-backed formula trusted by medical professionals, firefighters, and more than 90% of top college and pro teams. Hydration is non-negotiable. Like, I've been sick all week. You can tell by my voice. I'm getting better. I think I'm getting better. Cracked right there, but getting better. Staying hydrated is so key to getting through your day. Drip Drop helps me feel sharper, calmer, and honestly, just better overall. Right now, Drip Drop is offering podcast listeners 20% off your first order. Again, go to dripdrop.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNBA. That's dripdrop.com. Promo code LOCKEDONNBA for 20% off. Stock up now before the heat hits hard. And in Florida, it always hits hard. And keep your body and mind performing at their best with Drip Drop. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is also brought to you by our friends over at Wayfair. The holiday season is right around the corner, and that means it's time to get your home ready. Whether you need more seating for guests, cozy new linens, or fun serveware for holiday hosting, Wayfair's Black Friday sale is here to help you make your space shine. And the best part, you don't have to wait. Wayfair's Black Friday deals are happening all month long with up to 70% off everything from sofas to spatulas. You won't believe how easy everything is and how fast they're shipped just in time for the holidays. You can browse through the sites and find pieces that actually fit your style. There's nothing generic, just quality designs that feel personal. Don't miss out on early Black Friday deals. Head to wayfair.com now to shop Wayfair's Black Friday sale for up to 70% off. That's wayfair.com, WAYFAIR.com. Sale ends December 7th. And I am joined now by my good friend, our good friend on the Magic beat, Ryan Kaminski of Orlando Magic on SI, as well as Beyond the Arc. You can read his great work there. There's a lot of really good playbook breakdowns, like getting into the kind of the nuts and bolts of the game. We'll try and keep things generic, but we want to get into the tactics a little bit more. You know, it's been a hot topic for Orlando Magic fans all season long far. So let's dive. We'll dive a little bit deeper today. I will note before we get going, in case it pops up, we are recording this at about 3:00 in the afternoon. So there's been no Paolo Banchero news as far as we know. You've been listening to the intro of the show. I discussed what we know, what we don't know at that point. So get that out of the way now. We are coming to you from the past. Ryan, how are you doing today after last night's win?
Hey man, I'm doing great. The Magic are, other than Paolo, doing great, feeling good after last night's win. I mean, what a statement game, national TV, big time victory in New York, and there was a lot of hype for Paolo's birthday, and then it was Franz and the mask and Bane that came up big, and Anthony Black that I'm sure we'll get to, but it was a couple other guys that stepped up big in the big moment. And the Knicks coach talked about it right after, how the Magic just kind of punked them. They out-toughed them in that one right out of the gates, and they just never looked back, really. So it was cool to see they had that in them, and it felt like a kind of bit of a snowball building off of the Desmond Bane shot. I mean, the all-time moment there.
Yeah, it definitely did feel that way. And look, momentum is the next day's pitcher. I think I said that a million times on Monday. It's like, okay, winning this game means nothing if you don't go out and play well on Wednesday, and winning Wednesday means nothing if you don't go out and take care of your business on Friday against Brooklyn in the NBA Cup game. We'll get to some of that, but let's start there then. Obviously, everyone was depressed on Halloween night after the Magic lost to the Pistons on October 30th. When the Magic lost that game, everybody, or October 29th, because they played the Hornets next night, but everybody was down. It felt like the world was collapsing. Over the last 7 games, Orlando's 5-2. They are 9th in net rating. They are, I believe, 6th in defensive rating over every team's last 7 games. They are 9th in offensive rating. 7 games, small sample, but with this team, you'll take it. What changed between those first 5 games and these last 7? Or did anything change and they're just the formula is working now?
Yeah, you hit on some of it. I mean, the defense is back. Like, I think that would be the first thing. Coach Mosley would credit is that the defensive unit wasn't quite in sync those first few games, and it was that mark that you divided there. The first 2 games after that Pistons loss to, I think it was Washington and Charlotte, they just racked up deflections and racked up steals and blocks again like they used to, and that was a big turning point for the defense, just to kind of get back to their active defensive ways. I know like De Silva, Anthony Black, Franz Wagner forcing turnovers left and right. They've been racking up a lot of steals and blocks from the wing. Suggs, when he's healthy, of course, like he's always good for a chase down block every game, it feels like. And before that, it was a pick six steal every game. So I'm excited to get his minutes back up. But first thing was the defense, I think, for sure. And offensively, it's starting to feel like a little less experimentative and a little more Desmond Bane on the ball. It seems to be where this offense is heading a little bit. Like when when you asked Coach Mosley about how to get more threes for Bane going, that was one of the first things he credited was we just got to get him the ball, we got to put him on the ball, run more plays for him, and there's a lot of ways to get a guy shots, but letting him run the offense is a great option, and I think that's what a lot of fans were clamoring for off the rip was just run more offense through Bane, Paolo, Franz, and figure out the rest from there. And you mentioned the starting lineup, I think, as well as top net rating, top lineup in the NBA by net rating with over 90 minutes, and then it's like 4th or 5th in net rating of over 50 minutes. So it's one of the best lineups in the league when they're out there together, especially with Suggs, which I'm sure we'll highlight in a bit. But the defense, getting Bade more involved, more looks there, I think are big. And then we're seeing a few more flashes like of what I think the offense will look like long term, and that's a lot of Bane and Banchero 2-man game on top of what we already know works with Franz and Wendell and run and pick and roll.
Yeah, it definitely, I think we all, I think everyone let panic kind of set in a little bit because it didn't feel right. Like it felt weird that the Magic weren't so reliable on defense. And look, some of like I think Desmond Bane even said, I'm still kind of doing Memphis defensive stuff, and I'm learning Orlando defensive stuff and getting more comfortable. And you'll still see that. Like, watch Des off the ball. He's digging into the paint too much. Like, he's out of position sometimes. Like, he's still kind of getting some of that stuff down. But I think we took, and I would ask your opinion on this too. I think we took for granted how seamless it would be to insert Desmond Bane into this lineup. Des now 2020 hindsight saying like, yeah, we always knew it was going to take a little time and all this, but it definitely feels like there's still this feeling out process going on, right?
Right. Like I'm not sure we're seeing everything all at once, and maybe that's on purpose. Maybe it's like Coach Mosley not wanting to show his hand, play all his cards right out of the gates. I think there is I think Steve Kerr is known for this, but it's normally for like championship proven teams that can then afford to experiment in the regular season when it comes to trying different lineups, trying different schemes and matchups to just kind of see what sticks and what works. One big thing that they're clearly searching for is just bench lineups. Like we noted, the starting lineup is killer. They just haven't landed on a bench unit, a bench lineup that really seems to work like they're used to, with Cole Anthony holding down the bench with running pick and rolls with Mo Wagner and Joe Ingles running pick and rolls and bringing in Jonathan Isaac as a defensive anchor and a D&3 guard like Gary Harris or something that has been kind of the mold of that bench unit for years. And it's been continuity was a big factor, and they just don't have that. So they're waiting on Mo Wagner to come back, and that's another factor that'll help the bench units. But until then, they kind of know they have De Silva and Black to bring off the bench that have probably been as reliable as anyone. And Isaac and Goga, as of late, a little better, I think, as well defensively. And Jet seems to give good minutes as well whenever he gets in. So it's nice to see that for him.
Let's take a quick break from our conversation and say a quick word from our friends over at DoorDash. The NBA season is heating up, and DoorDash has found the perfect way to keep fans in their bag all season long. Whether you're watching for the highlights, your fantasy team, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes every game night even better. DoorDash is the official on-demand delivery platform of the NBA, and they're celebrating with something called the Bag Drop. Every time an NBA player scores 50 points in a game, like Nikola Jokic did on Wednesday, DoorDash drops 50% off your order with Dash Pass the next day. And you're automatically entered for a chance to win the ultimate fan bag. We're talking player-inspired drip, exclusive gear, and stuff you'll actually want. Not just food. You can get everything from snacks and drinks to headphones, ice, even socks, all delivered. DoorDash lets you cover for late night highlights, last-minute watch parties, and double overtime fuel-ups. So next time someone goes off for 50, use promo code NBA50 the next day to get 50% off on DoorDash with Dash Pass. Plus, your shot at the bag drop. Dash Pass members only 50% off up to $10 the day after a 50-point game with promo code. Terms apply. No purchase necessary. Ends April 13th. Open to U.S. residents 21 or older. Visit DoorDashInYourBag.com for full details. DoorDash in your bag all season long. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is also brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. With the Paolo Banchero news out, we don't have lines yet for Friday's game. I don't see lines for the big game, for every game on Friday yet. But with Paolo Banchero out, surely now is the time to believe the Orlando Magic can win the NBA Cup. Whether you're looking to bet on, on NBA Cup wins, where the Magic are now plus 1,800 to win the NBA Cup. They are still the favorites to win Group B at plus 160. You can get in on the action and put your money where your mouth is to support your favorite team. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. A lot was made during the preseason about trying to increase the pace. And pace means 20 million things. Every time I talk about pace, I feel like I have to say, like, well, pace is possessions per 48 minutes, but pace is also X, Y, and Z. It's a million different things. I like to differentiate pace from tempo, where pace, because that's what the stats called, is possessions per 48 minutes, which is up, where the Magic are like 11th or 12th now. Like, they're starting to slow down a little bit and settle into where they're going to end up for the season, which they were 30th last year. They're 11th or 12th. Like, they're getting more possessions. They're getting more opportunities right now. What does this stated intention of picking up the pace mean to you? And how are you seeing it affect the Magic?
Yeah. Positively, I would start with Paolo Banchero's shot profile is a part of that, I think. Like, he's I asked him about transition, and he, after one of the games, and he said he was kind of leaking out as part of like a strategy that him and Franz should look for early seals or early fast breaks when available, especially with how many turnovers this team forces. Like one of the first plays of the game last night, Banchero makes a big block, gets it to Franz, pushing the pace. Franz finds Bane with a shuttle pass, and Bane drives to the rack. Like, that's just easy buckets, easy like 4-point swings for this team that they really need. And any team, especially that like struggles with half court offense, can make up for that generally by evening the playing field with second chance points in that on the glass that they do well, and points off turnovers. But the shot profile for Paolo, I think, is one thing that's either to do with the pace and or just kind of this new style of play that they're playing with ball movement wise, where he's still getting his ISOs and his back downs and his post ups, but it's much more like picking his spots a little better, and he's also being utilized as a roll man. And I think that's one of the best sets for this team going forward, is just getting him downhill in the half court, whether it's him setting a screen and rolling, whether it's him getting kind of like a head of steam like the Pelicans will do with Zion from a time to time, and now with Derek Queen. But just getting Paolo moving, making it a quick read and react decision is always seems to be good for him. And to that point, it's the last I checked, it was Paolo's most efficient season of his career by true shooting percentage. And that's mostly due to the types of shots he's taking. He's taking more shots at the rim, more free throws, less long twos, less long threes. And that just leads to better shot selection overall, more efficient shot selection overall. So he doesn't even necessarily have to be better at any one of those things. He's just more efficient because he's taking better shots and not as many tough contested fadeaways. While he's always still looking for that base. That my favorite move of his is the kill shot, the baseline fadeaway, fall like looking like Melo.
It's either the Jordan fadeaway along the baseline, or that dribble to the middle of the lane, hit the pull up fader from the middle of the paint. Those two, like, give those to me.
Yeah, when he's got it like that, like he's still gonna look for it. Like that's his game. He can't just not be himself. So it's just a balance of like decision making, when picking your spots for when the team needs it, and like you can tell it's a good idea when they're up 6 with a minute left and they're looking for a kill shot for momentum. Maybe not like down 6 trying to like work your way back up. And it's little stuff like that I'm sure he'll pick up on. But that's just kind of nitpicking. In general, like. Just more efficient shot selection.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to that. I would say Paolo I agree. Paolo is most effective when he gets the ball in motion and is kind of forced to make quick decisions. Look, he's got to get an ISO possession here or there. That's just, you got to feed that so his ego's happy sometimes. But his best stuff is always catch the ball on the move, making a quick move. The more he stands and dribbles, the more defenses can load up on him, the more the lower percentage his shot's going to be. And so when he makes quick decisions and quick moves, and I think this is generally for everybody, the better they're going to be. Like, I get annoyed with Franz because he'll do the kind of rockabye dribble and then like pull himself out and then trying to attack. It's just like the less you dribble, the better. Like the stats will always say the fewer dribbles you take, the higher percentage you're going to shoot. But to that point, like a lot of the pace talk, as Jamal Mosley's put it, has been about how do we convert our defense into offense? Because that was something the Magic weren't particularly good at last year. Last year, they were not a good transition team. Yeah. This year, they are one of the best transition teams in the league. Let me just throw the synergy stats out there. Orlando this year is scoring 1.292 points per possession in transition. That is rated as excellent. That means they're like top 20. They're like top 5%. They're one of the best teams in the league in transition. Like you mentioned as well, Magic are one of the best teams in the league in offensive rebounds. They score 1.458 points per possession on offensive rebounds and putbacks. They have 83 of them already this season. They're getting better at pick and rolls. The pick and roll man, according to Synergy, is scoring 1.25 points per possession. That puts them in the 83rd percentile. So, like, again, top 25% of the league. This team has taken some major steps offensively. They're not shooting great yet, but that's like the last piece to unlocking this and making this like a really good offense. So just generally now, like 12 games in the season, we're not a quarter of the way through the season yet, still kind of a small sample. Do you feel like the changes Jamal Mosley's made to this offense, the numbers would say this, but do you feel like they have been effective, and what habits still need to be broken?
Yeah, there's there's just so many moving parts, I think, is the first thing that jumped out right when the season started. And to the point about the pace as well, like I think that might have been another thing that has changed. Like I think with as the defense got more intense, they haven't ran as much in terms of the pace itself. They're down to 23 in pace in the last 5-3 games, including including that Pistons loss then. So their pace is down since then, but the pace, I think, was part of the problem for the defense as well, that they were not being able to set their defense because they were like shooting their way out of things offensively and giving up on defense and running energy. So I think the happy medium is what you just hit on, the running off turnovers and picking your spots in transition when you have a leak out opportunity and can kind of feel the other team crashing the glass, and Paolo feels like he can get a quick 2 points the other way. So, forcing turnovers, running off of it in transition, I think is where that happy medium is for, in terms of kind of play fast. But then in terms of the half court offense, we're seeing a lot more ball movement these past few games. It feels like it keeps getting better almost by the game. Like the Celtics game, they had a season high in 3-pointers made with 17 threes. And they were 2 off their season high in attempts, which you got to do with the Celtics. They're the season high, they're the best team in the league at shooting threes. or not best. They shoot the most threes in the
They
league, I
shoot the
should
most
say.
attempts.
So
They
yeah,
take the
shoot the
most
most
threes.
attempts.
They don't shoot
take the
very
most
well from
threes.
three.
Yeah, that was the
Except for
point.
Sunday's game, they don't shoot very well.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the point. Is you just got to kind of like shoot as many as them in one sense, because you are better than them at shooting threes. You just don't take as many. And then last night against the Knicks, Anthony Black also credited 3-pointers as another way to kind of find an advantage. They gave up the most threes in the league, so the Magic shot a lot of threes again and found net. I think they might have hit 17 again. I don't have it in
No,
front
they
of me,
hit 17. They hit like 12, like 11
12.
or 12 last night. Yeah.
Okay.
It feels like 17 because
Feels
of the
like
last
it.
two games.
When-
They did 15 total on the the Sunday game against Boston, the Portland game. But
Yeah. So I'm interested in like the ultimate question is, how do you get the most out of like Suggs and Bane as their best shooters? And if we're kind of going off of especially Suggs's shooting season 2 years ago, where it was like 40% on 40% on like 8 threes a game or whatever. If he's now your second best shooter with Bane, how do you leverage that spacing for this half court offense? And so far, the answer has been Bane on ball, running pick and rolls with Wendell, with Paolo. He'll run a pick and pop with Anthony Black. They've also used him in some off-ball sets, like you'll see like a stagger set where Bane runs around 2 screens and gets the pass that way for a 3. And that was one play they scored last night where it was kind of a nice wrinkle where one of his screeners, Anthony Black, then popped out off of another screen for a catch and shoot 3. So just little wrinkles like that where they're clearly creating a lot of good shots. They're doing it with pick and rolls. They're doing it with off-ball screens. De Silva is the other name I wanted to shout that's just thriving with the play style. Like he's been on fire right out of the gates, hitting all his threes, forcing a lot of turnovers. He has this clear chemistry with Franz cutting off ball that he does with everyone, but those two just clearly like find each other. I'm pretty sure for a while the best play the Magic could make is just pass to a cutting Franz or De Silva, because like the top 7 assist combos are all one Magic player passing to those 2 players. So when in doubt, find the German cutter cutting through the paint. But with the offense itself, it comes down to Franz pick and rolls, and then Bane, Banchero, that 2-man combination. We've seen a couple different versions of it where Bane is on ball and Paolo's screening and rolling, and then we'll invert it and Banchero's on ball and Bane is picking and popping. And that one in particular was one I asked Coach Mosley about in a press conference where he, in the pregame, about the game against the Hawks, where in the second quarter, they ran it like 6 times. They scored 12 points in 6 possessions, like 2.0 points per possession. And they created like an open 3 every time or got Paolo to the rim every time. And it's just one example of like, you could just run that every single play if that's your core offense. And especially, I think like one thing is that we're all hoping for the best version of everything. Like we know how the NBA works. These guys are not all going to be available every single night. We just need some different versions of this team that kind of work together. Like suddenly Paolo might be out of the mix for a couple weeks or however long it might be. So what's the offense now going to look like without him? I think we'll kind of see a much clearer hierarchy in the scoring creator element side of things when we're missing one of these star guys, because you just have to. And that will kind of result in maybe a little more clear like definition of like, all right, this offense is a Franz Wendell pick and roll offense with Bane spotting up, and then Bane doing the same thing with Wendell with Franz attacking closeouts until further notice, until Paolo gets back or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I think that's going to be something that's very interesting, because like this Magic offense looks really good when they can get any of their attackers downhill. I was watching some tape yesterday, and it was essentially like the whole goal of the offense is get a player to the nail and which is the free throw line. The nail is the free throw line. Get a player to the free throw line and let the defense collapse, and then trust that player to make decisions. So like I love plays where they do a screen and roll with Paolo and he slips to the nail and you get him the ball at the nail, and all of a sudden, he's got some momentum downhill. He's got the defense trying to figure out like, how do we beginning to collapse around him? And then it's just option like that. I mean, like that opening play against Miami. I know that was a very long time ago now. That opening play against Miami, they've run a couple different variations of that play already. But like, that was the ideal. It was Paolo Des pick and roll. Paolo slips to the nail, gives Paolo the ball at the nail. He takes a dribble in, defense collapses, lobs to Wendell Carter. They don't collapse on him. He goes to the basket. They collapse on him, but they cover Wendell. It's a kick out to the corner. There's just like so many options. And ultimately
beautiful.
That's what this offense is trying to get at. And it's, the issue I think is still sort of the Magic just don't have enough guys that could beat their man off the dribble. Like Paolo for as gifted as an attacker as he is, and Franz for as gifted as an attacker as he's. Like, Franz, you give him a seam, he's going to take it. But they need some momentum. They can't start from a stop, I think, and get past their man. And so you end up having to run pick and rolls to create some separation and create some momentum. And the offense, I think, still bogs down when teams are able to kind of blow up that initial action. And the Magic can't get the ball rotating or get that initial rotation to happen.
Yeah, that's definitely can make the offense a little stale and predictable if you kind of know that's what's going to come. And yeah, I think that is kind of something that both Bane and Franz need and are best at, is with a screen and with a handoff or whatever it may be. And Suggs is really good with a handoff too. So AB too. They can all kind of attack closeouts, but they're all probably best with a handoff or a screen in terms of on the ball. And some of them can also be off-ball motion shooters like Suggs or Bane running around off screens as well to create some looks and throw some different wrinkles in there. But if you don't have the ISO bully ball Banchero out there, your star, like that's your guy that can create self creation stuff. And they haven't really trusted the six men types, I guess, to go off like that on their own. Like Cole Anthony ran a lot of pick and rolls and could kind of be that guy, but Jed Howard is much more team first now when he's out there, it seems like, and Jace is that way too. So they don't necessarily have the self creators when Paolo's not out there. So they do kind of rely on everything else that we've hit on, the defense forcing turnovers, the second chance points, and then for these pick and rolls in the half court.
Well, wouldn't you know it? My conversation with Ryan was going so well that this episode ended up being longer than an hour with the intro that I did about the Paolo Banchero news. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to stop here at about the 30-minute mark, a little bit past the 30-minute mark. We're going to stop here, and we're going to come back with a fresh, brand new episode of Locked On Magic at noon to finish this conversation. So not only do you get a Locked On Magic for your morning, for your first listen of the day, you get a pregame listen as we dive deeper into the Orlando Magic playbook. I want to thank Ryan once again for coming on the show. We'll be back later this afternoon. Later at the afternoon, it's probably already in your inbox by the time you're listening to this. I don't know when you listen, but we'll be back later this afternoon to talk a little bit more about the Orlando Magic and about the Orlando Magic's playbook and where they go next. Plus, we'll have the live reaction to the Paolo news that happened. See, it's a good thing I recorded that early. So I want to thank Ryan for coming on the show. He'll be back with us later. I want to thank you for listening to this episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find us on Twitter at Philip. You can find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the filming on the podcast to your podcast enabled listening device. You can find us. You can subscribe to the podcast as well on YouTube. Just search for Locked On Magic. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us there on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. And the newsletter today, which will be out before noon, hopefully. I will break down the options and the lineups to replace Paolo Banchero for however long he's going to be out. Could be a game, could be 2, could be 3, could be 4. Who knows? We'll dive into some of those options and the numbers on the Patreon page. Again, patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As always, thank you for your support. Now that you're done making Locked On Magic your first listen of the day, go make Locked On Fantasy Basketball your next listen. Josh Lloyd hosts the #1 fantasy basketball podcast, giving you daily tips and helping you win your league, all while making you a smarter NBA fan. Find Locked On Fantasy Basketball on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, all part of Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Also, don't forget, we want to thank you as well for making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network in the podcast universe. Truly appreciate it. It's your team every day. That's going to do it for now. For now, that's going to do it. We will be back at noon on Friday. A little pregame listen. We will be back at noon on Friday to finish this conversation with Ryan. Check us out then. Whenever. We truly appreciate it. We'll be back then, and we'll see you after the game against Brooklyn Nets for even more Locked On Magic as we recap that game on tomorrow's episode if you want to skip part 2. But until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see y'all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.